Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the TEA's Hyperion, her eyes fixed on the pristine world below. Eden's Gate, as the survey team had dubbed it, hung like a blue-green jewel against the backdrop of space. After 6 months of deep space exploration, they'd finally found something remarkable. A habitable world with clear signs of ancient human settlement. "Captain, we're picking up unusual energy signatures from the surface." Lieutenant Rivera's voice crackled through the comm. "They don't match any known patterns in our database." Sarah tapped her neural interface, bringing up the sensor readings in her field of vision. The energy patterns pulsed with an eerily familiar rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. "Mark the coordinates and prepare a ground team. I want to." Multiple FTL signatures detected. The tactical officer's voice cut through the ship's comm system. Emerging at the system's edge, contact count rising rapidly. Sarah was already moving, her steps swift and sure as she made her way to the bridge. The Hyperion's command center was a marvel of human engineering, a perfect blend of holographic displays and neural interfaces. As she settled into her command chair, the tactical display materialized before her, showing dozens of ships emerging from FTL. "Configuration unknown, Captain," reported Commander Jackson, her XO. "But they're definitely not human designs." First contact scenario. The alien vessels were beautiful in their otherworldliness, organic curves and crystalline structures that seemed to defy conventional engineering. Their formation spoke of military precision, but they made no aggressive moves. "Open all standard greeting channels," Sarah ordered. "Let's do this by the book." The response came almost immediately, not in words, but in images and emotions projected directly into their minds. The alien ships carried beings who called themselves the Archeth, and they claimed Eden's Gate as their own, a sacred world lost to them eons ago. "They're requesting we withdraw immediately," the communications officer translated, his neural implant struggling to process the unusual form of communication. "They say we're trespassing on holy ground." Sarah felt a familiar tension building in her chest. Humanity had spent centuries recovering from the Great Collapse, rebuilding their civilization, and reaching for the stars once again. They'd found other alien species, established trade routes, and built alliances. But this was different. "Send them our first contact protocols," she ordered. "Explain that we've found evidence of human settlement here. Request a diplomatic meeting to discuss our mutual interest in this world." The response was immediate and unexpected. The alien fleet began to move, not toward them aggressively, but spreading out in a defensive formation around the planet. Their next transmission carried images of ancient battles, of worlds burning, and of a species that looked remarkably human but wasn't quite right. "They're saying we're not who we think we are," the comm officer reported, his voice shaking slightly. "They claim humanity are, descendants of their ancient enemies, the ones who nearly destroyed their civilization." Sarah's mind raced. The archaeological findings on the surface had been preliminary, but they'd found technology that seemed far too advanced for the timeline of human civilization. Could there be a connection? "Launch probes to the surface," she ordered. "Full spectrum analysis, and get me everything we have on the settlement ruins. There's something we're missing." As the probes descended, the Archeth fleet remained in position, watching. Their presence was like a weight pressing down on the Hyperion's crew. The tension was broken by a sudden alert from the surface team. "Captain." Dr. Elena Martinez's voice was filled with excitement. "We've found something in the central chamber. It's responding to our presence. There are symbols here, Captain. They look like an ancient form of human writing, but they're dated thousands of years before our earliest civilizations. The Archeth must have detected the activation as well. Their ship shifted formation, and a new transmission arrived. This one carrying not threats, but a profound sense of confusion and wonder. They're saying the ruins shouldn't be responding to us," the comm officer translated. "They say only the ancient guardians could activate these systems." Sarah made a decision. Send them everything we found. All our scans, all our data. If there's a connection between humanity and their ancient history, we need to understand it. Hours passed as both sides exchanged information. The Arketh shared their historical records. Tales of a powerful race of guardians who had protected younger civilizations from cosmic threats. These guardians had vanished during a great war, leaving behind only ruins and mysteries. And now, impossibly, their technology was responding to human presence. Captain, Dr. Martinez called again from the surface. We've managed to access some kind of database. It's incredible. These aren't just ruins. This entire planet is some kind of archive, a record of something much bigger than us. Before Sarah could respond, the Arketh sent a new transmission. This one carried images of their religious texts, showing beings that walked among the stars, protecting and nurturing younger races. The beings looked human, but their technology and capabilities were far beyond anything humanity had achieved even before the Great Collapse. They're requesting permission to send a diplomatic delegation, the comm officer reported. They say we might be the descendants of their gods. Sarah looked out at the alien fleet, then down at Eden's gate below. Whatever they'd found here was bigger than first contact, bigger than territorial claims. This could change everything humanity thought they knew about their origins. Grant permission for the delegation, she ordered. And contact Earth Command. Tell them we found something that might explain where we came from and why we've always looked to the stars. As she watched the alien shuttle depart from their fleet, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Humanity had thought they were reaching out to the stars for the first time, but what if they were just finding their way back home? The surface team reported more activations across the ruins, systems awakening from millennia of dormancy at human touch. Each new discovery seemed to support the impossible theory forming in Sarah's mind, that humanity's destiny among the stars wasn't a new journey, but a return to an ancient legacy. And somewhere in the vast archive below, the truth about humanity's true nature waited to be discovered. The ancient chamber hummed with energy as Dr. Elena Martinez passed her scanner over glowing hieroglyphs. Around her, the walls pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to follow her movements. The Arketh delegation watched from a respectful distance, their crystalline environmental suits catching and refracting the light. The symbols are responding to your bioelectric field, said Ixel, the Arketh's chief archaeologist. Their thoughts translated smoothly through the neural interface. In all our studies of guardian sites, we've never seen anything like this. Elena shared a glance with Captain Chen, who stood nearby with her hand resting on her sidearm. Despite the diplomatic progress, trust remained fragile. The patterns mesh fragments we found on other worlds, Elena said. We always assumed they were coincidental similarities in human development. But this, she gestured at the living walls around them. This suggests something far more deliberate. The chamber suddenly brightened, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the room. Stars and galaxies swirled in miniature, showing paths and connections that spanned impossible distances. A map, Sarah breathed. But these routes, they don't match any known stable FTL corridors. They wouldn't, Ixel responded, their crystalline form shimming with excitement. These are the ancient paths, from before the Great Cataclysm, when the Guardians still walked among us. The hologram shifted, focusing on a particular sector of space. Red lines began appearing, spreading like cracks through the galaxy. Elena's neural interface translated the accompanying symbols. The corruption spreads. The younger races must be protected. The archive must be preserved. Warning beacons, one of the Arketh scientists transmitted. Our legends speak of a great darkness that the Guardians fought, something that threatened all life in the galaxy. Before anyone could respond, a new alarm sounded from above. Commander Jackson's voice crackled through the comm. Captain, we've got multiple new contacts entering the system. They're not Arketh. Sarah was already moving. Send me the tactical feed. The data flowed through her neural interface, showing dozens of ships emerging from FTL. Their design was angular, aggressive, all sharp edges and weapon ports. Are they responding to hails? Negative, Captain. But we're picking up intense energy readings. They're charging weapons. The Arketh delegation became agitated, their crystalline forms pulsing with rapid colors. The Vorkath, Ixal transmitted. They believe the Guardians were demons who enslaved the ancient races. They destroy any Guardian sites they find. Evacuate all non-essential personnel to the ships, Sarah ordered. Dr. Martinez, how close are you to understanding these systems? Elena's hands flew over her holographic interface. The architecture is responding more and more to human presence. It's like it's recognizing us, awakening to our touch. But there's something else here, something deeper. The chamber shuddered as the first shots were fired in orbit. Through their neural feeds, they could see the Vorkath ships engaging both human and Arketh vessels without discrimination. They cannot be allowed to destroy this place, Ixal transmitted urgently. The Arketh holds secrets vital to the galaxy's survival, if what we suspect about your people is true. Another impact rocked the chamber, and more systems began activating. Lines of light raced along the floors and walls, spreading outward through the ruins. Elena's scanner went wild. Captain, these energy readings, the entire planet is waking up. Sarah made a quick decision. Commander Jackson, coordinate with the Arketh fleet. Defensive formation around the planet. Buy us time to figure out what's happening down here. She turned to Elena. Doctor, what exactly is waking up? Elena's eyes were fixed on new symbols appearing across the walls. It's some kind of initialization sequence. The archive. It's not just a database. The entire planet is some kind of massive defense system. A hologram in the center of the chamber changed, showing the planet's internal structure. Layer upon layer of advanced technology lay dormant beneath the surface, systems that made humanity's most advanced weapons look primitive by comparison. The Guardians didn't just leave records here, Ixal transmitted. They left a fortress, a safeguard. More impacts shook the chamber as the battle raged above. Through their neural feeds, they watched as Vorkath ships pressed their attack, their weapons blazing against the combined human and Arketh defenses. Elena, Sarah said urgently, if this is a Guardian facility, and if we really are their descendants, there has to be a way to activate these defenses. Elena moved to a central console that had risen from the floor. The systems are responding to human DNA, but they need something more. A conscious activation. A choice. She looked up at Sarah. They need a Guardian to wake them up. Sarah stepped forward, placing her hand on the console. The chamber's light focused on her, scanning, analyzing. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything changed. Knowledge flooded through Sarah's neural interface. Images, data, memories that weren't her own. She saw the Guardians, saw their mission to protect and guide the younger races, saw the threat they had faced, the choice they had made to scatter their people across the stars, hiding them among the very races they had sworn to protect, hiding them until they were needed again. I understand, Sarah whispered. Through her neural link, through the ancient systems now responding to her presence, she could feel the planet awakening. Feel the defensive systems charging, ready to fulfill their ancient purpose once more. Above them, the Vorkath fleet pressed their attack, unaware that they had done exactly what the Guardians had planned for. They had forced humanity to remember who they were. The time of awakening had come, and humanity's true heritage was about to be revealed to the galaxy once more. The planet's surface erupted with light. Massive structures began rising from beneath the Earth, ancient defense platforms awakening after millennia of dormancy. In orbit, both the Vorkath attackers and the allied human Arketh fleet paused their battle, watching in awe as Eden's Gate revealed its true nature. Through her neural interface with the Guardian systems, Sarah felt rather than saw the changes taking place. Knowledge continued to flood her mind, not just data, but understanding. The Guardians hadn't just been powerful, they had been responsible for shepherding life itself through the dangers of an uncaring cosmos. Multiple energy signatures detected. Commander Jackson reported from the Hyperion. Whatever's happening down there, it's lighting up our sensors like a supernova. Elena worked frantically at the console beside Sarah, correlating the new data. The archive isn't just a weapons platform, she announced. It's a nexus point, one of several spread throughout the galaxy. The Guardians use them to coordinate their efforts, to monitor threats to developing civilizations. The chamber shuddered as more systems activated. Through the holographic display, they watched as massive defense platforms took up orbital positions, their ancient weapons armed but holding fire. The Vorkath fleet is repositioning, Jackson reported. They're targeting the platforms. Sarah felt the attack coming through her connection to the Guardian systems. Without conscious thought, she reached out through the interface. Energy shields flickered to life around the platforms, absorbing the Vorkath weapons fire, as if it were nothing more than light rain. Impossible, transmitted one of the Arketh scientists. Those shields are absorbing energies that would destroy our strongest defenses. Because they were designed to face something far worse, Elena said, reading from the data streaming across her display. The corruption the records mentioned. It was some kind of extra-dimensional entity, something that consumed entire civilizations. Through the neural link, Sarah saw it. Memories of an ancient war against something that defied comprehension. The Guardians had fought it across countless star systems, protecting the younger races even as their own civilization burned. The Vorkath are powering up their main weapons. Jackson's voice cut through her vision. Multiple capital ships moving into firing position. Sarah opened her eyes, her decision made. Elena, can you access the weapons systems through this interface? Yes, but these power levels. One shot could vaporize their entire fleet. That's not what we're going to do. Sarah placed both hands on the console, feeling the full power of the Guardian facility flowing through her. The Guardians weren't destroyers. They were protectors. There's a better way. Through her neural link, she accessed the defense platforms. Instead of weapons, she activated something else, something the Guardians had used to communicate with and influence the younger races. A wave of energy pulsed out from Eden's Gate, washing over both fleets. Not destructive energy, but something far more subtle. The Guardians had understood that true power lay not in destruction, but in understanding. Every ship in orbit, whether human, Arketh, or Vorkath, received the same vision, the same truth. They saw the Guardians as they truly were, not gods or demons, but guardians in the truest sense. They saw the sacrifice these ancients had made, spreading their own people among the stars, hiding them among other races until they were needed again. They saw the truth about humanity. The Vorkath fleet is powering down weapons, Jackson reported, awe in his voice. They're requesting to send a delegation to the surface. The truth is a powerful weapon, Ixal transmitted, their crystalline form glowing with emotion, perhaps the most powerful the Guardians left us. But even as the immediate crisis passed, Sarah felt something else through her connection to the Guardian systems. A warning, a signal coming from deep space. Something was stirring in the darkness between the stars. The corruption was returning. Dr. Martinez, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the weight of revelation pressing down on her. Begin downloading everything you can from the archive. We need to understand exactly what the Guardians were fighting. She turned to the Arketh delegation, and we need to prepare. All of us. You're suggesting an alliance. Ixal transmitted. More than that. The Guardians didn't just protect the younger races. They taught them, guided them, helped them grow. Sarah gestured at the holographic display, where the image of the galaxy now showed thousands of points of light, other Guardian facilities waiting to be awakened. It's time for humanity to take up that mantle, not as conquerors or gods, but as what we were always meant to be, guardians of this galaxy and all who live in it. Through her neural link, She sent out a call to the other human ships in orbit. She felt their responses, felt the echo of Guardian heritage in their minds awakening. They weren't just remembering who they were remembering their purpose. The Guardians seated themselves among multiple species, Alina said, reading from the archive data. Humanity was just the first to return to the stars, the first to find our way back to our legacy. Then we won't be alone in what's coming, Sarah said. She looked at the assembled delegates, human, Arkith, and now Vorkath. The Guardians faced the darkness alone. We won't make that mistake. Above them, the defense platforms continued their silent watch. Eden's Gate had awakened, and with it, humanity's true purpose. The war that had brought them here was ending. But a far greater conflict was about to begin. The holographic display in Eden's Gate's control chamber showed a galaxy in turmoil. Red warning signals flashed across multiple sectors as Sarah, Alina, and representatives from a dozen species watched the corruptions advance. It's moving faster than the archive predicted, Alina said, her fingers dancing across the controls. The void between the Carina and Sagittarius arms. Something's accelerating its progress. Through her neural link to the Guardian systems, Sarah felt the wrongness of it. The corruption wasn't just consuming space. It was devouring reality itself, leaving nothing but empty void in its wake, and it was heading straight for populated space. The Vorkath long-range sensors confirm your readings. Their new representative, Krav, transmitted. His earlier hostility had been replaced by grim determination. 3 colony worlds have already gone dark. Sarah accessed deeper levels of the Guardian interface, bringing up defensive strategies developed millennia ago. The Guardians fought this before. They developed weapons, containment protocols. But they didn't win. Ixal interrupted, their crystalline form pulsing with concern. They were forced to hide, to scatter their people among the stars, because they fought alone. Sarah turned to face the assembled representatives. We have something they didn't. Unity. Every species here has inherited some fragment of Guardian knowledge, Guardian potential. Together, we might have what they lacked. The chamber systems suddenly flared with new alerts. Commander Jackson's voice cut through their discussion. Multiple quantum ruptures detected. The corruption is accelerating beyond all projections. The holographic display shifted, showing a massive tear in spacetime emerging just beyond the system's edge. Through her Guardian link, Sarah felt the wrongness of it, the fundamental violation of reality's laws. All ships, battle positions, she ordered. Elena, activate the planetary defense grid. Full power to the containment fields. She turned to the alien representatives. Get to your ships. Coordinate with the Hyperion. We need every weapon we have ready. As the chamber emptied, Elena caught Sarah's arm. Captain, I found something else in the archive. The Guardians, they developed a final solution. A way to close the dimensional breaches permanently. What's the catch? Elena's face was grim. It requires a focused quantum pulse from multiple nexus points. Eden's Gate is one, but we'd need at least 3 others. And the power requirements would burn out the systems. Destroy the facilities. Sarah felt the weight of centuries pressing down on her, taking with them all the Guardian knowledge we've just rediscovered, along with the defensive capabilities we'd need to protect developing civilizations. Another alert blared. The quantum rupture was widening, and through it came something that defied description. A writhing mass of void and anti-reality that consumed light itself. Multiple contacts emerging from the rupture. Jackson reported. They're unlike anything we've ever encountered. Through the neural interface, Sarah watched as creatures of impossible geometry emerged from the breach. The corruption had evolved, developed servants that could exist in normal space. They moved toward the assembled fleet with terrible purpose. All ships, open fire, she ordered. Concentrate on the breach edges. Try to contain the expansion. The combined fleet, human, Arkith, Vorkath, and others, launched their assault. Energy weapons of a dozen different designs struck the emerging horrors. Some shots passed harmlessly through them. Others caused the creatures to shatter into fragments that quickly reformed. Conventional weapons are ineffective, Krav transmitted. The Vorkath fleet reports minimal impact. Sarah accessed the Guardian weapons through her neural link. Ancient energies surged through the orbital platforms, lashing out at the corruption servants. These weapons had effect. The creatures recoiled, their impossible forms disrupted by powers designed to fight them. But there were too many. The breach continued to widen, pouring more horrors into real space. The fleet began taking casualties as void weapons phased through shields, erasing matter from existence. "We're losing containment," Alina shouted. "The breach is still expanding. At this rate, it'll consume the entire system within hours." Sarah felt the truth of it through her Guardian link. They couldn't win this fight. Not here, not like this. She accessed the archive's deepest protocols, finding the activation sequence Alina had mentioned. "Get me a channel to all ships," she ordered, "and find me the coordinates of the nearest Guardian facilities." Alina's eyes widened as she realized what Sarah was planning. "Captain, if we activate the quantum pulse protocol, we lose the archives, yes, but we keep everything that matters." Sarah opened the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Captain Chen. What we face here isn't just a threat to our system or our species. It's a threat to life itself. The Guardians faced this choice before, sacrificed their civilization to save the younger races. Now it's our turn." She sent the activation codes through her neural link. Throughout the system, Guardian facilities began charging, drawing power from the planet's core itself. "We are the Guardians' heirs," she continued. "Not because we have their power or their knowledge, but because we share their purpose. To protect, to preserve, to stand against the darkness, no matter the cost." The defense platforms began to pulse with building energy. Through the neural link, Sarah could feel the same process beginning at other. Through her neural link, she felt the other facilities, felt the minds connected to them. Other awakened Guardian descendants, other species coming into their heritage. They weren't alone anymore. "All facilities reporting ready," Alina said. "Pulse at maximum charge. Waiting for your command." Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the combined power of every Guardian facility in the galaxy flowing through her. In orbit, the fleet began their withdrawal, fighting every step of the way against the encroaching void. "Remember what we learned here," she broadcast to the retreating ships. "Not the weapons or the technology, but the truth about who we are. All of us. We're not meant to fight alone." The corruption surged forward, sensing the building energy. Its servants threw themselves against the planetary shields with renewed fury. Through the quantum breach, something vast and dark began to emerge, a presence that had haunted the galaxy since before the Guardians' time. "Now," Sarah whispered. The pulse fired. Reality itself seemed to scream as concentrated quantum energy erupted from every Guardian facility in the galaxy. The beams converged on the breaches, burning away the void stuff of the corruption. Sarah felt every moment of it through her neural link, felt the ancient machines giving everything they had in one final act of protection. The vast presence in the breach recoiled, tried to withdraw, but the pulse followed it, burning away its anchors in normal space. Throughout the galaxy, every quantum breach began to collapse. Through her fading connection to the Guardian systems, Sarah felt the other facilities burning out, their ancient power finally exhausted. On planets across the galaxy, monuments to the Guardians' legacy crumbled as their power cores went dark. "Alina," she managed through gritted teeth, "get to the shuttle. Get out of here." "The archive." Alina hesitated at the door. "Lives on in what we learned here. In what we all learned. Now go." As Alina fled the chamber, Sarah poured everything she had into maintaining the pulse. The corruption fought back, trying to keep its hold on reality. But it faced something it hadn't faced in its ancient war with the Guardians. Unity. The combined power of multiple species, multiple Guardian descendants, all focusing their will through the quantum pulse. The breach began to collapse, taking the corruption's servants with it. The vast presence screamed in frequencies that shattered reality itself as it was forced back into the void. Sarah felt the archive systems burning out around her, felt the neural connection becoming unstable. But she held on until the last moment, until she felt the breach seal completely. In orbit, the fleet watched as Eden's Gate's mighty facilities, the last testament to the Guardians' physical legacy, crumbled and went dark. But they carried something more valuable: the understanding of what it truly meant to be guardians of the galaxy. 3 months later, on a new colony world, representatives from 24 species gathered to sign the Guardian Concordat. The archives were gone, but their wisdom lived on in the alliance that now stood ready to protect the galaxy's younger races. Sarah, recovered but changed by her connection to the Guardian systems, watched the signing ceremony from the Hyperion's observation deck. Beside her, Elena studied readings from the ship's upgraded sensors, designed with principles learned from the archive. The Concordat ships picked up some unusual readings in the Carina sector, Elena reported. Might be more Guardian sites we didn't know about. Sarah smiled. Then we should go take a look. After all, she watched as ships of a dozen different designs patrolled the system in perfect formation. That's what Guardians do. The Hyperion's engines hummed to life, carrying them toward whatever mysteries waited in the darkness between the stars. But this time, humanity didn't journey alone. They journeyed as guardians, protectors of all life in the galaxy, just as they were always meant to be.